Hey guys, so I'm going to be painting hellebores as our flower of the day. I was really excited about these. When I was looking at my photo references, I was hoping to get to paint these. So I'm going to be starting out with white, yellow ochre, magenta, um, let's see, what is this? Cadmium red, ultramarine blue, phthalo green, and yellow for painting these hellebores. So I'm really excited to paint a whole beautiful bunch of these. They come in so many different shades and patterns, and there's even ones that are sort of like speckledy looking. And so I am excited to do some of those variations. So we're just going to get really there's a whole like mixture of them. So I'm just gonna tint my white a little bit cream. I have a couple photo references up on my desktop that I pulled from Pinterest, and I'm just gonna be sort of doing a mashup of a couple different looks or patterns, I guess you could say. So I am just going to start here, and they look like they're pretty small flowers, so I'm just gonna maybe do them about this size. And same thing as with the cherry blossoms I did last week. Because these grow in bunches and, there's a whole lot of them on a plant, I'm not going to paint every single flower perfectly. I'm going to kind of do some full ones, some ones that are sort of facing a different direction, do, partial ones kind of peeking out from behind. So we'll just kind of see how that goes. But I just sort of feel my way through the composition. Usually I like to start with one full one and then kind of tuck some other ones kind of coming out from behind. And these ones, I think I'm looking at my photos, it looks like there are a variety of petal shapes, some that are more round and some that are more pointed. So we'll just go ahead and do a whole variety here. Okay. Here we go. Oh, you know what? I meant to actually start with my larger brush. I guess I'll keep going with the small one for now. It seems to be doing okay. I'll kind of do one. I'll try to get one to sort of face in this direction a bit. There we go. And then I've seen some ones in the photos sort of hanging down. So I'm just going to add down here, just because I know near the bottom I'm going to want some that are more drooping downwards, because I think that's so beautiful. And we'll just do something like that. Yeah, that's pretty. Okay. I think maybe I'll do one more cream one, and then I'm gonna switch to a different color after this. So I guess I'll go ahead and do one more like right about here. And since these are really simple flowers, I'm trying to do the right number of petals, at least for the ones that I'm fully painting face on. So they've got five petals. I find with, flowers that are super frilly, obviously you don't really number the petals. That isn't something that, like peonies, they've got a million petals. And so I don't really worry about, numbers of petals or anything like that. I'm just going for a really full sort of a look. But with flowers where one of their really defining features is their number of petals, like I feel like they're much more distinct because there's so few of them. So I try to get the right number, at least on the ones that are like full face on like that. And then there's some that are like little buds. I think I might add like a little bud up here. Okay, and then I think I'm gonna switch to a different color. So we've got some cream ones, and I'll just leave the cream on my palette if I wanna come back and add some details that are more, add some more cream colored ones or anything like that. So I've got some that are kind of a light pink. So I'll start a light pink color over here. Let's do a little bit of my magenta. I think they're a bit more of a warm pink, so I'm going to bring in a bit of the red. Ooh, that one, I think that went a little bit too far in that direction. Okay. This is nice. It's sort of like a little, sort of a berry color or a bubblegum. Okay. Okay, I think I'll do maybe one right here that's sort of maybe overlapping and coming out from behind a little bit. Maybe I'll make this variety a little bit more rounded. A rounded petal shape here. There. Whoops. Oops, I touched my white. Okay. All right, composition wise, I don't want to fill up the whole area completely solid. So I think I'll do maybe one right here. And I think I'm going to do another one that's sort of facing downwards. So it has its petals kind of drooping right there. There we go. And then there's kind of the top petal. Ah, there we go. There. And then I'm just looking at my photo references kind of to imagine different flower positions, and then I will kind of decide where that's going to be placed in my painting. I think I'm going to do one sort of facing out towards the side here. I'm really excited to add the little speckles on some of these. I think I'll actually add the speckles to the white ones to give them some more interest. Completely plain white flowers are just a little bit plain. I guess I love plain white flowers in real life, but in my paintings, I always want to add something else to them. And so I'm going to add the speckles to these. Okay, and the pink, all of these will get some more details, some more like patterns or color gradations or something. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to... Now, there are some really gorgeous, dark, dramatic flowers, versions of these hellebores, and so I want to add some of those in. I'm just thinking about how much space I have left and what I want to do with it. I feel like maybe some dark ones there and then some dark ones here, so I might add one more. I think I'm going to add one more pink here. Maybe just have it part way showing. Oh yeah, and I love little dashes like that sort of hint at a petal that you just don't fully see. So I'm going to maybe add another like a little hint here and there. I don't want to go overboard because then it's just a little it gets a little visually crazy if you do them everywhere. So I'm just gonna add maybe that one and maybe like one right there, kind of another flower that's sort of tucked behind. Okay, I like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this pink into my darker pink because there's barely anything left. I think I'll just swipe a bit over the ones that are starting to dry, and you can start seeing the dark blue showing through them. So I'm going to just touch them up, make them a bit more opaque with the leftover color here, and then I'll switch into my darker. It's like this really dark purpley magenta, which is super dramatic and gorgeous. And they have these light sort of like yellowy green centers. And so they have all this gorgeous contrast. So I'm really excited to do those details. Okay, I'll go ahead and make my dark color. So I was thinking about it beforehand, how I would make this color. I think I'm gonna start with magenta and add just a little bit. I don't want to add too much of the blue or else it's just going to turn purple, and they definitely are like a maroon color. So I'm trying to think best which way to make that. I guess I'll just add a little bit more blue and see where that takes us. And because magenta, naturally, the pigment that makes magenta is a very, it's a very translucent type of pigment. It's going to be more see-through on the page, and so I think I'm going to add a little bit of white to it to help with the opacity. It's going to lighten the color slightly, but that's okay. I actually, I think that matches the natural color of these. I think it's getting a little bit on the pinky side, so I'm going to bring it a little more warm red with some of the cadmium red. I think I'll paint one in this color and see how it looks on this blue background, because whatever you're painting on top of is going to affect the look of your final product. So where do I want to place this one? I think I'm going to go ahead and place it right here. I want to leave some of the negative space, so like some of the empty space. I'm going to paint one right here, so like the bottom petal is coming down. Now this is really dark, and that's okay because this is like my first layer, and then I can add some detailing of a lighter color. So I'm just gonna go with it because I really like that contrast. Oh, I had too many petals, but nobody's counting, so don't worry about it. I'll add one on this side. There we go. I kind of like just hinting at that one. And I think I'm gonna go for one down in this lower area, maybe another facing downward one. And I'm gonna leave a little bit of room for some leaves. I was imagining like a light, sort of a yellowy green leaf that will contrast really nicely with this navy blue. I think navy blue backgrounds are so fun and dramatic, and so I decided to make this one a dark blue like my the last video that I did of the poppies. I loved that, so I decided to do it again. Okay, so I'm seeing sort of like all these dark pink ones are sort of lining up in a visual line. So I'm going to break it up and add maybe a hint of a dark one just there for a little something. Whoop. That one got a little crazy. And then I have just enough left for one more flower. Do I want it down here? I actually think I want it down here instead of up there, and I'm going to have it kind of come out from behind this lighter colored one because I think that would be pretty to have two of them sort of overlapping right there. Maybe we'll bring this one just a little bit lower. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and do a little touch up on any of the ones that are there. Okay, so now I'm going to rinse my color out of here and decide what I'm going to do for my next layer, because I think that's about as many flowers as I'm going to do. So now I'm going to go ahead and add in some layers of other colors. I'm just looking and seeing what I've got on my screen, all the different options. There's so many different options. So I knew I was going to add some dots to these white ones, so I think I'm going to do that first, since I just know that's the first thing I want to do, or that I know for sure that's something I want to do. Okay, I'm gonna make this, I don't want it to be exactly the same color as the dark magenta flower, so probably if I mix this with a little bit more white, it'll kind of land somewhere in between the light pink and the dark pink. Ooh, this is going to be so fun. I'm excited to speckle things. And I also want, I think I'm going to add a little bit of water to my pigment. Oh, thank you guys. You guys are so sweet with your comments. Okay. Okay. All right, we're just going to go for it. I'm like afraid I'm going to make them too heavy, but I think if I have a light hand, it'll be all right. Okay, so the dots are grouped together the closest and are like the thickest near the center of the flower, and then they go outwards from there. So I'm just going to do just something like that. And just like I've been saying in my other videos, like I don't want to do too many if I can help it. Like I want to hint at there being lots, but I don't want to do a million dots on each one, because that just gets overwhelming looking to me. So yeah, I'm liking how this is looking. So I'll just kind of duplicate, and not all of them have to be perfect dots or anything. They're just little dashes, little strokes, however they kind of come off the brush. And I'm just trying to do them really close together and then slow down and just add a few extra off the edges there. Nice. Now this color is a little bit more intense than I was meaning to do. Trying to think of the best way to kind of mute it. I think a tiny bit of green is going to mute the redness. I just felt like I wanted it to be slightly softer and a little bit more dusty looking. So I think it's going to be a little bit of green and a little bit of white to soften it. And we'll just see how that looks on the next one. We're just going to leave that there, and if it looks a lot different on all the other ones, I'll come back over it. Yeah, that's a little softer looking, so I'll go ahead and do my next. Nice. I like that. You might hear some kids outside my window here. Some of the neighbor kids are out going wild. Here we go. Thanks, guys. I'm glad you're liking how it's looking. I like it too. The dots are so satisfying. So satisfying to paint. Yeah, and I'll do a few lighter pink ones maybe on this one just to help it look not completely like a different shade. Yeah, that's fine. We'll roll with it. Try to stay up on the tip of my brush, not make them too chunky. There we go. And I'm looking at my references. It's like they're so closely grouped together. It's almost solid at the opening here to the flower. So I'm just going to do a few more to help it look a little bit darker there at the opening of the flower at the center. Yeah, okay. So now I'll do this one. And I'll just even do some little dashes that are sort of off the colors to kind of hint that it's continuing off the white shape that I painted. Now this one, because it's sort of hanging, these are like the back sides of some petals, so we really would only be seeing a little bit of the dashes coming out from behind. Yeah, maybe just like that. That's nice. Let me see. I'm gonna look at my... I think for these ones, for these lighter pink ones, I'm gonna change my pink a little bit and add in... Actually, I'm like thinking back and forth. What's the best way to do them? I think I'm gonna add some details of white actually, and just add maybe some little highlights on them to liven them up a bit, or even just a lot lighter pink. But since I have this pink on my brush, this is close to being a good color for some details on the dark one. So instead of rinsing out my brush and losing all the paint that's in it, I think I'll just switch over and do these for a minute. I'm trying to decide if that's too light of a color. It might be just a little too light, so I'm going to add some more magenta. Let's see. So you're asking if I'm using an example or a sample. I have a couple photos that I've pulled off of Pinterest just up on my desktop. I'm not painting any one of those photos composition wise at all. I'm just looking at them to see sort of the colors and you know, the details of the flowers, and then I'm just coming up with my own composition. So yeah, that's a good question. I've had some people ask about my photo references for these, and I don't print out photo references all that often. You can definitely do it. I just don't have a color printer at home, and so it's not as easy for me to like, I don't usually plan that far ahead what my photo references are. I just sort of pull some up on Pinterest when I'm getting ready to paint. And so if you have a printer at home that you can print your references, even if it's just black and white, I guess you could do that, but I like using the colors in the photos for inspiration too. That's totally fine if you want to do a photo reference, you know, a physical photo reference, not on a screen. I don't have that, you know, off of a screen to really share with you guys. It's just sort of in the corner of my studio here, hanging out on my desktop. And also, I don't really feel comfortable sharing the photo references in these videos just because they're somebody else's photo, and I don't know what the copyright of me sort of reproducing their photo in the form of a video or like showing it to a bunch of people. I don't really know what the copyright implications of that are. So I don't there's no problem with me looking at it and then basically as a reference, but not, reproducing the thing. I'm not like reproducing anybody's photo. I'm just looking at it for like reference for details, but not for the actual like composition or anything. So there really isn't a problem with that. But anyway, that's a little bit of my process or thought process behind photo references if you were curious. I think it's kind of a complex thing. But if you were going to actually reproduce, excuse me, if you were going to reproduce a photo like in its details and in its composition and all of those sorts of things, I would advise you to either use your own photo or find copyright-free photo websites where you could get photos from there, and people super generously just donate their photos for that use. And so then you don't have any worries about infringing on the photographer's copyright if you're, reproducing detail for detail a picture and then showing it as your own piece of art. Okay. I like these. In the, I think I'm going to make a sort of a purpley blue, for a little bit of a detailing color on these, because they have some hints of a bluish purple, but I'm going to just bump it up and make it more exciting and expressive, more of like I don't know, just like a fun expressive touch to these. Now that went a little too purpley, I think, for me, so I'm going to add more in the blue. There we go. And now I think I got maybe a little too dark. When this dries, I think it'll be a little too dark, so I'm going to add a bit more white. There, I like that. Yes, I definitely will be saving this video on YouTube. Instagram doesn't let you save lives beyond the 24 hours that you can post it in your story. And so I 100% will be saving this video and posting it on YouTube. So if you just search my name on YouTube, you can find my YouTube channel. Let me see, there was one other. What type of paint do I typically use? So this is acrylic paint. And brand wise, I use a whole bunch of different brands, but I would say the majority are Liquitex Professional and Winsor & Newton's Galleria line of acrylic paints. I like Liquitex Professional a lot because they are really, really high quality. I use the heavy body acrylics, and they are really thick, really highly pigmented, and just really, really great. I like heavy body acrylics because I tend to want to paint thicker and not have opacity in my paints. I know other people who have different painting styles, and so they want different things out of their acrylics, but that's what I want out of mine. So Liquitex Professional. Golden, of course, golden acrylics are really the top of the line, and they are, you can buy high flow ones that are like fluid acrylics, so I've used those in some of my paintings that have the drips. But yeah, so I don't own that many golden acrylics because they are so pricey, and these ones, Liquitex Professional and Winsor & Newton, work really well for me, and I can get the job done, and they have good color fastness and all of that stuff, so I'm not worried about the quality of the paint. It's just the way that it works and like the opacity of the pigments, I guess, basically. Ooh, went a little wild with this. This is fine. And then Winsor & Newton, their Galleria line is just sort of I think they're good for a affordable acrylic that also has pretty good color, what am I trying to say? Like pigmentation. And so they, They're not quite as highly pigmented as Liquitex and Golden, but I buy them for my white, and I use them. I've used them in my workshops, and so I'm kind of working through a bunch of tubes that I bought for previous workshops, and we just didn't use them all. But I'm starting to buy more Liquitex, except for the colors that I just use tons of, like white. So I hope that answers your question. I also saw a question about my brush. So this is a round brush, and this, oh, this wore off. Okay, let me see at my other one. This is number 6. So this is an 8 that I'm painting with. This is a Simply Simmons round brush in size 8. Okay, these ones have gotten really multicolored while I was talking, but we're gonna leave them because I think they're kind of cool. I'm gonna go ahead and do a little something with these pink ones, and then I'll come back and see if I want to change anything. Of course, I just go back and add more details if I want. Okay, you know what? For these guys, I said I was going to add a little bit of white or whitish pink, light pink. So I am going to change this color. My magenta is almost gone, but it's enough to tint this. Magenta is super strong. That's really close to that color, so I think I'm going to add a bit more white. Okay, now I'm going to just start at the tips of the petals and just go back and add a little bit of like a highlight, so then it makes the dark pink more centered towards the middle of the flower. There we go. I'll just go around and add that same sort of idea to all of these light pink ones. There we go. I'm trying not to, you know, worry about getting all my brush strokes perfect. I like just sort of dashing it around and seeing how it looks. There we go. This one looked a little bit small, like the petals were a bit small on the side, so I'm just going to use the light pink to make them a bit bigger. And then I'll go ahead and add it to that one. Ooh. Yeah, I like that. Okay, let's decide what needs to happen next. So I feel like I want to add some dots to these light pink ones. I think I'm going to add light greenish dots, which will be really cool, and it'll kind of tie in with the leaves and the centers of the flowers once they're there. Let's see if there's anything else I want to add before that. I feel like these flowers, they're still a little bit flat looking to me because there's just 2 colors. Maybe I'll add some pure white on them. I thought about adding the light pink for a second, but then I think that would just make them too similar. So I'm gonna go and grab some of my pure white, and since I mixed my white with cream or with ochre and made a cream color, pure white I think will hopefully show up on them just a little bit. Well, it's something. There. That helps them look a little bit more dimensional, I think. kind of use it like a little highlight on the ends of the petals like I was doing for the pink ones. I still feel like they're going to need something else. But you know what? I think I'll add in the centers of the flowers, because often it just is like looking unfinished because it needs the center, which is the real focal point of these flowers for sure, because they have, there's an ant on my table. Okay, get out of here. The total focal point of these flowers is the center. They have these really beautiful frilly centers with lots of little lines and detailing to them. So I'm gonna just sort of save the finishing touches till after I do the centers to really know like whether they need more or if the centers just finish them off. And, oh, thanks for your question. This is paper. I am painting on, I didn't actually say at the beginning, so thank you for asking. I'm painting on Strathmore's acrylic paper. And I did a wash. That's completely dry by now. I did it actually last night to prep my page. So you can see the page bends a little bit, like it has a little bit of a ripple, but I'm relatively new to this paper. I've been using it just in the last couple weeks, and I really like it. It is very heavy. It's over 200 pounds paper in the way that they, keep track of how heavyweight a paper is, which is really, really heavy. And so I've painted on larger pieces of it, like big squares, and because there's more paper, it really holds pretty darn flat. These ones ripple a bit, but I think once the paint dries, my other paintings on this size have dried and flattened pretty well. So yeah, I think I'm liking it so far, so I am continuing to use it. I'm gonna make my little bit of, actually I should probably make a lot because all of these flowers need centers. I'm gonna use white and yellow and a little bit of green and just see what happens. That's a nice color. Oh wait, didn't I say I was gonna do green dots on these? Whoops. I say things and then I forget. Let's see. Yeah, I want to do it, and that needs to happen before the center, just so then I don't ruin my nice little center detail. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a green real quick. I'm gonna make a muted green. I love yellow ochre for making muted, more earthy sort of greens, because it brings in a little bit of a brown element to the green and warms it up. I think that's a little too dark. I'm gonna add a bit of white. That's better. It's more of sort of a muted look. Okay, so there's a question from Emmy. Do you ever paint shadows, and how vivid are they typically? Are the colors made to look darker by being mixed with black? You know what? In my paintings, I guess you could say I paint shadows when I have lighter areas on my flowers and darker areas. But I don't, yeah, I guess that is about as shadowed or what am I trying to say? That is about the extent to which I paint shadows, is to show dimension on the flowers. I don't really think about them as being shadows, but I guess they are. I don't mix my colors with black almost ever. This dark blue I'm just to get a more muted version of ultramarine blue, because if I had painted solid ultramarine over my page, I could have gotten it dark, but the ultramarine blue would have been super intense. And that isn't what I was looking for, because I think it would just overwhelm the painting. by its intensity of color and distract from the things that are on top of it. And so I mixed it with black to kind of kill the blue. And I think of muted colors as just having like the intensity of the color sort of brought back, like kicked back a couple notches. So like taken back. So I don't really ever mix black with anything just to make it dark. I only mix it with things if I want to make them less intense. So when I think about shadows, I will, it's hard because I don't have a really clear example here, but you could see these darker areas, they end up working like shadows because they're dark and they're gathered towards the center where, you know, the flower petals are coming together. A little less light is making it in the center. I kind of I just look at my photo references, and if there are darker areas, I'll usually use a darker version of the color. So like more straight out of the tube, like this magenta came out of the tube pretty dark. And then for like the highlights, I'll add I'll add some white to it and make a lighter version of the color. But I also pay attention to how intense the color is. And this is getting, I feel like this conversation gets you into color theory, which is so complex and nuanced that I feel like I'm not going to do it justice here, but I do try to pay attention to how intense or muted my colors are. And so if a shadow color is dark but too intense, I'll find a color on my palette to mute it. But I almost never will use black to mute colors. I'll use the color that's across the color wheel from it. So the color across the color wheel from red, its complementary color is green. So I will use green to mute my red and to make it less intense. And then for blue, its complement is orange. And so you would mix orange and blue together to make each other less intense. Same thing, yellow, purple. And so I'll think about it that way to make my colors less intense. And I really only do that ever so slightly. I'll just add a hint of another color. So it's really not, overtaking it. It's just taking the edge off a really intense color if I don't want it that intense. So I hope that helps. That's a really long and complex subject. I feel like you could take a whole class on that. But I would say, like, if you can watch some tutorials about the color wheel and color theory, that will help so much, because basically now I know it so well, it's intuitive, and so I don't really think about what I'm doing as much. And so if you can learn it and explore the way that your colors mix together, definitely do that, because one workshop exercise that I would do when I was teaching in-person workshops is I would have my students, before we painted anything, we would just have all of our colors squeezed out on the palette, and then we would just practice mixing different colors together and painting little color swatches on a page. And that is so rewarding and fun. And it's also a great way of learning how your colors interact and affect each other, because once you start mixing different colors together, you go, oh, this one like really, these two together I never knew would make a beautiful purple, or a kind of an interesting brown, or like a coral color. And so, yeah, I would just say play with your paints as much as you can that way, and then get familiar with how they affect each other. Okay, so I'm doing these little centers. So they have kind of a more intense ring of yellow at the center, and then they have like a little lighter ring, almost like the anemones, like little stamens coming out. And I know I'm not using the right vocabulary for the names of the parts of the flower. I need to look that up so I'm not completely saying the wrong words for these things, but there we go. At least I know what they look like. Here we go. I'm gonna just hint at that one. And these are a little blah, like this light color is a little boring, so I'm probably gonna come back and add some more, a few flecks of maybe the ochre or a green or something to liven it up a bit, because these are looking a little flat still. I'm excited to put it on these dark ones because it's going to have way more contrast than it has on these light flowers, so it's going to really pop. And it shows up, because it shows up so much more on these, I'm thinking more about it, how it doesn't have to be an even circle of marks. You can kind of like leave some little spaces. It helps it look a bit more natural when there's some grouped together and then some a little further apart. I think that is nice. So fewer is better. So it helps it look a little bit more delicate. Yeah, this color shows up so nice on this dark. I want that same contrast for the other ones, but they're just so light. They're not going to have that quite the same. Especially the ones with the speckles. I feel like this, you know, the dotted centers are kind of getting lost in the speckles, so I might need to do something to help them stand out a bit. All right. Now that I'm looking at it, some of them have some green almost tucked in the very center, so that might actually help this pop out a bit more if I go back in and add a bit of green. So I'll give that a try. Okay, a few more. I'm just going to leave those. I don't think those need a center, so then we're going to come around and add it on these ones. There we go. Okay, last one. Then I'll kind of stop for a second. Oh no, wait, not last one. These ones down at the bottom need it. Yeah, love it on these dark ones. That, I feel like that just completes it. Like they don't really need anything else. Maybe except just a little bit of a touch up on it once it dries, because I can see it starting to dry a little bit see-through, because it is on such a dark ground. You're seeing the dark behind it. So there. Yeah, those dark ones are so nice. I like that a lot. Okay, let's see about green. I think I'll go back in and add some green towards the centers, and I'll make it maybe a little bit more of an intense green than this one. So I might just change that muted green, because I feel like it's a bit more of a lively yellowy sort of a color, yellowy green. So let's give that a try. Oh yeah, that's fun. Okay, we'll just give this a shot. And I'm just gonna stroke it sort of in between the center. Well, I'm looking at my photo references. It's kind of, it shows up here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just keep it right there. A little ring right around the center. And then I think I'll add a bit more yellow maybe to my center color, the yellow, to make it pop a bit more, because right now it's just a little bit of a shy color. Yeah, I think I'll add it to these. And honestly, I wonder if it should get a little darker. Some of these are not having the depth, like these light pink ones, because they don't really have a dark value color. in them like the others do. Like these have the dark pink. These ones obviously have lots of dark tones. I think they need a little something. So I'm going to come back with a darker shade of green probably and add it where I'm putting this lighter shade right now. Now, these red ones, in my photos, I'm not really seeing any green, so I think I'm just going to leave them be. I don't really need to rinse out my brush. I'm just going to bring some dark green over here and add that to the centers of the light pinks. And now I'm just kind of going off and doing what I want to do. I'm not really looking at the photos for, you know, reference, because at the end of the day, this is my painting and I'm going to make it kind of look well balanced to me. So even if these don't really have this shade of green or anything quite like that, I think they need it to help them look well balanced in my painting. So I'm just going to go for it. Yes, that helps a lot, I think. Helps them have a bit of depth. So that's sort of what I'm talking about. Like when I don't really use shadows, I guess I am, you know, these are sort of simulating a shadow, but I'm not really thinking about them as a shadow. I'm just thinking like the flowers need a darker color to help them look more well-rounded. So I'm going to add it in. Cool. I'm loving this. I feel like these still, the pink ones need a lighter shade of maybe just white, maybe just plain white a little bit on the edges. Now, I love these greens. I'm going to save those for my leaves, and I'm almost done, you guys. Yes, contrast. Exactly. So I have come to realize that my painting style, oops, I'm all out of white, so I'm going to get some. My painting style is defined by contrast. It's all about, and I'm sure everybody's paintings are about contrast in their own way, but mine are definitely like high contrast, I would say, like very bold. And so I love having lights, you know, bright lights against darks. And that is just what satisfies me visually. And so, and also warm colors up against cool colors in very like bold ways. And so I think all artists use those, you know, those sets of contrasts to make their work. But I like it in like extremes. And so if I have lots of, you know, light, you know, pink or warm color flowers, I'm going to use like lots of like cool greenery around them, which is what we're going to go for here in just a second. Yeah, I really like this white. I think that helps them just look a little bit more defined and kind of just gives them a little bit of a sparkle. There, I like that. Okay. So you can watch the beginning, the whole video from the beginning once this live is over, and then it's going to be posted on my Instagram, in my Instagram stories for the next 24 hours, and then it's going to be on YouTube forever and ever on my YouTube channel. As long as YouTube stands, it will be there. But you can't go back to the beginning yet, I think. I think the live has to end, which it will be very soon. So this actually, I've realized that Instagram only lets you do an hour live and then you have to start a new video. And I have a timer going. I have 7 minutes left. So I think if the hour runs out and I haven't finished the painting, I just start a new live video and then there will be 2 lives posted and you can watch them if you want to watch the replay that way. And when this video ends, I'll just immediately start a new one so you can hop back in if you want to see the end of this painting. Okay. Okay, we're ready for the leaf colors, I think. I think that's it. Now, these types of flowers are on little stems that you can see. So I think I'm gonna quickly in the corner here make a bit of a stem color with my yellow ochre and some green. I love how it looks. This makes me so happy, this variety and all the textures and the spots and everything. So I'm just gonna hint at some stems because in the photos I'm looking at, they're all kind of growing up from stems, and I don't want to do too many to make them look... I struggle with stems because I don't want them to be overwhelming or too distracting from the rest of the painting. So I think I'm just going to hint at a few coming down, and they don't really have to be, you know, connected to anything in particular. Actually, I kind of think that's enough. I'll just clean up that one a little bit. And then I will go back to my leaf color, and they just sort of have overall a little bit longish leaves, so I'm just going to paint some long leaf shapes. And I just go, like I've said before, if you guys have watched any of my other live videos, I just do my own thing with the leaves. I don't go super true to life with leaves because I love doing my own thing and just go into town. But since these generally have a longer sort of a leaf shape, I'll honor that, which works with my style. And I'm gonna kind of keep the leaves focused more towards the bottom here because there's so many flowers up top. I don't think there needs to be any showing there. Let me think. I'm kind of like moving my brush around, imagining there being leaves. Trying to sort of picture, I think we could have another one here. And then maybe we could have like a little bit of one right here. There we go. You know what, guys? I think we're going to finish it up in this video because I'm really close to being done. I've got just a few more minutes before the live ends, so I think I can do it. I'm going to make, like I usually do, a little bit of a lighter version. Sort of add a bit of definition on the leaves. But I really like how this is looking. They just add that bit of cool. Like I said, there's so many warm tones in this painting, so a little bit of a hint of a cool tone is welcome. It just adds that contrast and that balance. There we go. There, I like that. I think because all the leaves are kind of in this zone, I'm going to add one more up here. Oh, and it looks like there's only like 30 seconds left. Ha! It's the race to the end. There. Now I can see the timer up there. Okay, I think that's it. I'm really happy with this. Here is our finished our finished piece. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you tomorrow for our next painting of the day. Bye!